Good evening. My name is Teresa Reed, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of the Ann Arbor area. I welcome you to our online forum featuring candidates for County Commissioner District 5. The candidates will be on the ballot in the primary election on Tuesday, August 4th. This year, the League of Women Voters is celebrating 100 years of expanding voter rights, educating voters, and shaping and influencing legislation at local, state, and national levels. We're pleased to sponsor these forums. The League is a nonpartisan civic organization that encourages informed and active participation by all citizens in government. The League works to increase understanding of major public policy issues and seeks to strengthen and broaden knowledge about our form of government and democracy. While the League does not support any candidates or parties, we do take stands on issues we've studied. One of the League's most important goals is to assist voters in making informed choices at the polls, and thus we bring you tonight's program. Our moderator this evening is John Chamberlain, who will explain the format and get us started.
Thank you, Teresa. And it's now my honor to introduce the four candidates running for the Democratic nomination in District 5 for the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners. Justin Hodge, Denise Kirchhoff, Karen Lovejoy Roe, and Michael White. We thank you for participating in the forum. And let me just review quickly Teresa's words about the format. Each of you will get an opening statement of up to a minute. At the end, each will get a closing statement of up to 90 seconds. And in between, I'll ask questions that come from the Ann Arbor community, and each of you will have 2 minutes to respond to a question. And you will see the 30-second sign and the stop sign come up at the appropriate times. The candidates will begin speaking in alphabetical order. Depending on the number of questions, all candidates will have an opportunity to be first, second, third, and fourth. And now we're ready for opening statements. First, Justin Hodge.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Justin Hodge. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for holding this forum and helping to bring attention to the very important issues facing Eastern Washtenaw County. I'm a lifelong Michigander, a licensed master social worker, and a professor of social work at the University of Michigan, where I teach graduate level policy courses. I've committed my entire career to public service and improving the lives of others. I'm running for county commissioner because I believe that everyone across our county should have the opportunity to be healthy, to build wealth, and to be safe. No matter where you live in Washtenaw County, you should have access to quality and affordable health care, and transportation shouldn't be a barrier to using a provider. You should be able to get a good job to provide for yourself and your loved ones, as well as build wealth and purchase a home if you so choose. And of course, you should feel safe no matter where you are in the county. Your zip code should not determine the opportunities available to you. But for so many, that is their reality. I live in Sugarbrook, one of the neighborhoods hardest hit by COVID-19. I've been working for years to address the equity issues that the pandemic has shined a light on. I'm looking forward to helping bring about even greater change as your next county commissioner. So I'm looking forward to a great conversation tonight.
Thank you. Next, Denise Kirchhoff.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, League of Women Voters, for hosting this forum. I think it's a great idea. I'm Denise Kirchhoff. I currently live just off of Hitchingham and Textile. I've been in Ypsilanti ever since my oldest daughter, youngest daughter, who's now graduating high school this year, was 2 years old. And we've chosen to live here and we love it. And I've always gone to all of the meetings. I've always been involved, even in communities, that don't, that aren't part of my zip code, because I'm an advocate. I mean, I've always been an advocate. I was the first and only anti-human trafficking intern in the state of Michigan. And I had to work with the state of Michigan on all the anti-human trafficking programs to compile literature to make sure that everyone knew where service was. So my thinking is everybody should always know where your services are. And in going to like my kids' school, standing in a hallway, doing the parent parking lot outside, I would just hear everybody complain about, I got to get this done. I don't know where to get this tree removed. I don't know how to get this done or that. And they would go to the different websites and call around and they couldn't find it. And they were extremely frustrated. We were all frustrated about recycling, about our kids having access to more than just one university, and living in this community and stretching into other communities.
Thank you.
I decided I was tired of it.
Time is up, so we're going to move on to, in this case, to Karen Lovejoy Roe, who's now unmuted and ready to go.
Hi, everybody. It's just a great opportunity to be here. I really want to send a hats off to the League of Women Voters for everything you do, but especially for providing this opportunity tonight. And also I want to thank all my fellow candidates, Justin and Denise and Michael, for throwing your name in. It's a big, awesome responsibility. Your family hates it. They miss you all the time, but I think the world is a better place the more that people are running for office. I am coming to the race because I feel that there's just a real vacuum in representation for the eastern side of Washtenaw County. We have a lot of needs: transportation, recreation, and roads. So we have a lot of dirt roads in our district, and I just think that with my experience of working in municipal government for a long, long time, I have the most experience in terms of handling the budgets and finding a way to get consensus and get support for all the issues I think that are near and dear to those who live and work and play in District 5 of the county. So I'm excited. Thank you so much.
And now, Michael White. You're muted, Michael. There you go.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you, League of Women Voters, for putting this on. And thank all of the other candidates for being here and throwing your hat in the ring. Appreciate that. My name is Michael White. I live in Ypsi Township, Fort Lake Village area. I've been in the area for about close to 20 years now. And I've had an opportunity to build relationships. And I think that's one of the most important things that you can do is build relationships with the community in which you will serve. I've had an opportunity to attend Eastern Michigan University, had an opportunity to work in the community. I am currently the chair of the Eastern Washtenaw Dems. Had an opportunity also to see the types of challenges that are in the community, and I want to make sure this is a fantastic place to live, work, learn, pray, and play. Quality for all. Thank you so much, and look forward to speaking to you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the questions. As a reminder, I will be reading the question once and will not repeat it unless someone asks to have it repeated. And to begin tonight, we'll start with Denise Kirchhoff for the first question. And that is, the world has changed a great deal since most of you decided to run for office. The global pandemic, the ensuing economic collapse, and most recently, the widespread protests against police brutality have focused attention on how these matters highlight the disproportionate burdens shouldered by the poor, the elderly, and communities of color. These present challenges to government at all levels concerning economic opportunities, affordable housing, safety, and public health. What do you see as the major impacts these upheavals will have on the agenda of the County Board of Commissioners in the coming 2 years? And what will be your priorities as a commissioner? And Ms. Kirchhoff, you're first.
Okay, I think one of the first things I see and I hear is utility relief for our community. A lot of people are complaining about, because of the delay in receiving benefits, we have a lot of problems with people paying their bills and their utility bills. And I think another major thing is going to be affordable housing. People are finding themselves now a month, 2 months, almost 3 months late on their rent. So we're definitely going to have to deal with affordable housing. And one of the most important things is community mental health, because I have a teenager, I have older children, I have friends, and people are having such a hard time wrapping their minds around what's happening and just seeing everything they've worked for just put on hold, and that's extremely hard. So I think those are three things that we're really going to have to focus on. And also, what does school look like for returning our kids to school? The county is going to have to be involved. I mean, the county is going to have to make sure that there's parenting for post-COVID children. And there's also something set up for parents. There's no way that we cannot be involved on that on a county level any longer. I think we see now with COVID how important our local government is on just a very local level, how involved we're going to have to be, because we're the first line that everyone's going to turn to.
Okay, thank you. And next, Karen Lovejoy Roe.
I think the first thing that's going to happen is going to be the issue of budget cuts. And I think it's going to be really important as the commissioners that we band together, those of us that represent the east side, and then with our friends that are in the city of Ann Arbor and on the west side, that we really get a chance to put your money where your mouth is. And that is, are we going to have real equity in the county? And equity doesn't mean everyone's equal. It means that it's fair. And we haven't been treated fairly on the eastern side of the county. And so I think the issues of keeping funding for around the issues of affordable housing, making sure we're getting all the federal grants that we need in that area. The issue I think is so drastically needed even before this, but even now, even more, is we need jobs in Washtenaw County, especially on the eastern side. We need to work hard to make sure that when new businesses are locating, and they do every single year, that they're coming to the eastern side of Washtenaw County, and we need to have an economic development staff on the county, which we don't have now. We depend on a nonprofit private organization to look at finding ways. We have a lot of open space in the District 5, and folks are ready to bring in new businesses. And then crucially, as it's always been, lots of District 5 does not have adequate transportation, public transportation, if they have it at all. And so wherever the job centers are, where they're created, we need to make sure that people have access to those. And that's going to take, I think, working through coalitions with both the AATA and other groups that are willing to provide service, and making sure that our folks can get to the places where the jobs are going to be located. So thank you.
Thank you. And next, Michael White.
Thank you so much. Economic inclusion. Economic inclusion is going to be a key factor going forward. We are currently in a recession. We need to make sure we get as many individuals included in this economy. We need training. We need proper education. Everyone is not intended to go to college. So we need to find ways to train those folks who are currently here, who are in jobs that they could probably be doing a better job if they had the proper training, to make sure that they are able to take care of their families. We need to level this playing field. We need to think about these things. We have a pandemic on top of multiple epidemics in communities in Ypsi Township and facing Augusta Township as well. Once we can go ahead and get that economic inclusion by giving out grants, Right now, we are very apt to giving out scholarships to individuals that want to attend college. Everyone is not meant to go to college. So we can go ahead and give out grants, $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 grants for people to start their own businesses and become part of the fabric of this community. That way they are going to be able to have wealth within their homes. They are going to be able to provide health care for their loved ones. They are going to be able to have transportation. We need to give the wealth and the means to individuals to be able to take care of themselves in this knowledge-based economy. So let's look forward to the future, and there are ways that we can do this. And we need to have our own, again, economic development team. They have them in the other 3 counties. We need to have one right here in Washtenaw County. And I look forward to making sure that that happens in this day and age, again, as we face the new normal in COVID-19 past, hopefully once this is over with. But we need to be prepared for the future. And that's what I look forward to doing.
Thank you. And finally on this question, Justin Hodge.
All right, I appreciate how you discussed that the pandemic has highlighted these inequities in our county. So I've been working to address these inequities literally for years in partnership with the county. I currently serve on the County Community Action Board, which is the board that advises the county's Community and Economic Development Department. So we work together to address these economic inequities in Eastern Washtenaw County. To give you a couple of examples, we've worked on food distribution. And a program that I've been working with that office through my position with the university is to start a children's savings account program to attack some of these wealth inequities in the county. Just to give you some stats, Ypsi Township has about a $12,000 lower median household income compared to the Ann Arbor area. Health inequities, COVID has really shined a spotlight on that, but they've been present in our communities for decades. Countywide, African Americans live on average 10 years less than their white neighbors, and Latino residents live 16 years less. Just life expectancy between the people in our district and Ypsi Township and Augusta Township is 6 years less than somebody in Ann Arbor. So I also serve on the Board of Health, where I work with the county's health department to address these public health challenges, which has been integral in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic. And I also, in terms of safety issues, I've been working at the county level to address the safety issues that we have across the county. I chair the Sheriff's Community Advisory Board for Law Enforcement, where I bring my perspective as a social worker and my focus on social justice to community policing. As you know, we had that recent incident in Ypsi Township, and if you haven't seen, we've been taking community feedback on that. So I've been engaged in leadership on these issues for years with the county, and as your county commissioner, I'm going to continue to work on that.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next question, which will return us to some of your earlier comments here. Several years ago, Washtenaw County and the city of Ann Arbor launched the One Community Equity Initiative. How do you assess its progress to date? And what do you think the most important policy initiatives are at this time to achieve the goals of One Community? And we'll begin this time with Karen Lovejoy Roe.
Well, frankly, we're failing miserably in terms of housing in itself and the cost of housing. We went backwards, even though a lot of us have committed to move in that area. And I think it's not enough just to have government saying that they want to do something, that we need to have more initiatives, both through funding and through land sources, so that we can work with our private, builders and folks who are looking to do workforce or lower income housing throughout the county. So we haven't done a lot of stuff. And one of the things that was supposed to happen was Ypsilanti Township was supposed to attract, higher incomes, more educated. And while Ann Arbor was supposed to, in Pittsfield Township, we're supposed to do the opposite of that. And as a member who sits on the Affordable Housing Commission, trying to, solve some of those issues, it just hasn't worked out. And so it's going to take a more concrete effort. I think more financing that's going to be involved. And we need to look at what a lot of folks across the country and other cities are doing in terms of trying to find the funding to work with the private builders to find a way to solve the affordable housing crisis. And the COVID and what's happening and the loss of jobs, the loss of income is just going to bring that higher to our fruit. To the forefront. And so it's going to be even a bigger issue. On the issues of jobs, I mean, one of the things that we look at, are we racially balanced? And I think that most of us, whether it's the county government or even Ypsi Township government or Augusta's or University of Michigan, we're not reflective of our community. And I think that that's an area that we failed in. But it's an area that is hopeful that we can do, as long as people want to make it a goal to really have your workforce reflective of your community. And that's something I think as a county commissioner, all of us together, we say that we want to do it. It's time to actually make it happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And next, Michael White.
So the One Initiative is here. It's been going, but that One Initiative has to have more concentration on this side, the east side of the county. Ypsilanti Township, Augusta Township, but Ypsilanti Township specifically, we have challenges. We have housing challenges right now because we have housing cost burdens. Individuals are not able to stay in their homes. Again, with what we currently have going on, this new pandemic that's just exemplifying all of the epidemics that we already had. We need to have affordable housing right here in Ypsi Township. We also need to have better education. The challenge that we're currently having right now is that we have a great number of individuals who are at the high school level, some college, but not able to get these jobs that are currently out here that allow them to be able to have a larger income. Again, we're using 30% of our current income to pay for our house, our rent or mortgage, and then we need transportation costs as well. These are the challenges that we're currently facing. We need to go ahead and start making the moves to eliminate this. I didn't wait for One Initiative to come over. I saw a need and I said, let me go and do what I can. I teamed up with Michigan Works to start a job training program that paid $15 an hour with individuals who will be able to have this training, and they will be able to get the training that they need to move forward. So I don't wait on others to go and do the job that we need to do here to bring up this community. We need to make sure that we have the job centers closer to affordable housing. So we need to build those houses and we need to have those job centers that are accessible and get our people trained in the Ypsilanti Township and Augusta Township with the knowledge-based economy jobs, and we need to do that now.
Thank you. And next, Justin Hodge.
Well, so first, as a result of the One Community Initiative, we got the Racial Equity Office. And thinking about what we can do on the County Commission, one of the first things that I'll do is be a champion to continue funding to the office. We're all aware that there are going to have to be budget cuts as a result of the pandemic. And in many cases, the first thing that may go in some communities might be initiatives to promote racial equity. As a county, we need to continue to make racial equity a priority. Budgets are a representation of our values, and we need to continue to support funding that office to help them really get going. And a lot of the work out of that office has really just started getting going. They're starting to get momentum now. We need to continue to support that. So as your county commissioner, I'll be a champion for the Racial Equity Office, continue to see it expand, get more staff in there to increase the work being done there. Part of that too, I mean, we're having a conversation about affordable housing. I'm sure there'll be other questions about it too, and I can dig into details. But we need to have specific policy strategies to increase affordable housing throughout the county. We need to try things that haven't necessarily been done. We need to try things like inclusionary zoning, where the county could work in partnership with townships to create locations where there's housing, affordable housing, mixed use areas where there would be businesses. I think the Galt Village Shopping Center area, should that become available, would be a perfect spot for that. I know Ypsi Township is looking to expand affordable housing. We need that. We need to expand, like I mentioned before, wealth inequities. We need to address those by making more jobs available. E-course corridor, that's a great location for some business development. Those are the kinds of things that we need to continue working towards in promoting racial equity. But we need to protect our Racial Equity Office to make a lot of that happen. And we need to work with the townships across the county and the cities to make sure that they make racial equity a priority as well.
Thank you. And finally, Denise Kirchhoff.
Thank you. When this board was formed 2 years ago, Washtenaw County set 80 out of 83 counties as far as performing. And I think 60% of people in Washtenaw County are really low income. What has happened is the pandemic has highlighted what the board is supposed to be taking care of. And I think there were great intentions with the board, but in reality, not a lot was done. But COVID has shown us that a lot of things weren't done. I don't understand why, as part of this board, we're not looking at things like Barrier Buster, partnering with organizations that are going to help pay for utility bills. I think one of the things that COVID has highlighted that this is actually going to have to deal with is that we form all of these boards with really great intentions, but we don't sit down with the community and say, come to us, bring us what your issues are. I mean, it's great that we form these boards, it's great to sit in these rooms, but we actually need the community in a room. Eastern Washtenaw is still cut off. I've done a lot of work in Augusta since the pandemic has happened. I see exactly how cut off Augusta is, and as far as and the lack of transportation, because there were a lot of transportation issues during COVID. So I think when we look at this board, we have to truly look at the failure that it was and build it up from there.
Thank you. And when we next move to question number 3. 2 years ago, county voters approved the public safety and mental health millage. What is your assessment of the progress to date in pursuing the goals of the millage? In light of current challenges, do you think changes in how the funds are being spent are called for? And we'll begin this time with Michael White.
Thank you so much. So when that millage happened, we're looking at two things, one for the mental health and one for the policing. As far as the mental health, the challenges that we have met with in Ypsilanti Township specifically is that that tax hurts our residents. And unfortunately, some of what was put into that information doesn't really, a lot of our folks don't qualify for it. So that's one of the challenges that we have. We're being taxed for things that we are not able to really use. It's always good to have mental health. Mental health is going to be extremely important now, and especially going forward in a COVID-19, in a post-COVID-19. But we need to make sure that everyone has equitable access to this type of healthcare across the board, especially if they're being taxed on it. As far as the other portions that are going to the policing, we already know the challenges that we currently have with our police. Can we be more robust with this? I absolutely think so. I think that we may need to take some of this millage that was put forth and put that in a different piece that we can help move forward the police training that is needed and that is necessary. So we want to make sure that these two pieces are, again, accessible for everyone to have across the board without limitations. So anytime that we are looking at something that affects the entire community across the board, we need to make sure that Ypsilanti Township is completely affected in a positive way. So again, I really think that although it's good, we need to make sure it's fair for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Hodge.
All right, I appreciate this question. So my background is in social work. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've worked for a community mental health system for a number of years, and I've worked at the Ypsilanti Health Center providing clinical social work services to low-income families in the Ypsi area. So in my experience working for a community mental health system and being a mental health professional, I've got a lot of ideas on how we could provide mental health services differently in our county. One of the big things is I'd like to see, after the pandemic is behind us, an increase in home-based services. We talk about how there are challenges with transportation. We don't have regional transit right now, and a lot of that affects Augusta Township, as well as parts of Ypsi Township and the rest of the county at large. We need to be able to bring more services to people. There were challenges in Ypsi Township with people being able to get to appointments, but we can bring services to them. When I worked for a community mental health system, I did home-based child and family therapy and eventually moved on to doing crisis intervention work, where I would go to people's homes and do therapy there, meet them at their school or in the community and do that. We could do more of that here. In the meantime, while there's still the risk for spread of COVID-19, we need to increase our teletherapy services, which research shows are just as effective as in-person therapy. Now that would create some challenges for people in Augusta Township because there are issues with access to high-speed internet. We need to continue the efforts that are ongoing in the county to make sure that county-wide people have access to broadband internet, and through that they'll be able to engage in teletherapy. In regard to the police services, we have a number of police forces throughout the county. I'd advocate for consistency in training between the police forces. We want people doing the same kinds of trainings like de-escalation training, mental health, first aid training. We could use those funds for that, and we need to work with the townships and cities to make that happen. Just want to throw out a plug for anybody that needs a mental health service during this pandemic. CrisisTextLine.org is a great resource for people that need access to crisis mental health services. You don't need to be suicidal to access the service. If you just need access to a mental health service, you can go to that website and get it for free. And I'm at my time.
Thank you. And next, Ms. Kirchhoff.
Thank you. All right, what I'm looking at and what I'm sort of been thinking about and talking about to my neighbors is like with the police department, we definitely need some retraining and some de-escalation. Can you hear me? It looks like hello? Okay, some training and some de-escalation, and maybe some mental health readiness with our police department. And when it comes to mental health, I mean, we have a lot of heavy healthcare costs, but there's very limited access out in this part and sort of even going into Augusta Township. So we're asking people to pay for services that they don't even have available to them. And like right now, we should be partnering with Eastern Michigan University. We can co-partner with them with mental health pop-up programs during once a month or maybe twice a month. And we have an issue with, and I think we can also be doing a lot of mental health training online, but we have to realize that there are a lot of places that don't have online services. I helped friends of mine from Lincoln actually deliver school packets to kids in Augusta because they don't have internet access. Some of these kids haven't had any access since school stopped. So when we talk about, having mental health access online, we have to also increase our internet access, because there are parts of Augusta Township, like I say, I delivered school packets to, that they have no access to the internet. So that's not going to give them any access to the online mental and medical health that we could be doing. And that's going to include some transportation for them getting to these services that are not out by Augusta or in this part of Eastern Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. And last on this question, Ms. Rowe.
Well, thank you for the question. It's extremely complicated, but I'll talk about a couple of things. One is the tax itself was something that really disproportionately impacted not just District 5, but all of Eastern Washtenaw County. We have areas in Ypsilanti Township in particular where there's higher taxes being paid. It's one of the hardships of trying to attract businesses is because you can actually open a business in Ann Arbor, pay less taxes than you do in some of the areas in Ypsi Township, and this just increased that burden. And so I think it's really important. There's nothing we can do about that now, but I think it's really important that we make sure that those who need those services, which are on the eastern side of the Washtenaw County, I think more disproportionately, that they are getting the services. I love Justin's idea about, meeting people where they're at. I would want to take that maybe a step farther, and I'd love to have conversations about this more, that asking folks who have family members who are involved in that, the whole mental health delivery, is what does it take? I mean, one of the worst things is that, folks who need help don't want to get help even when they're assessed. And then how do we get through that? And what is the best way to deliver those services to everyone? I also want to say, I think that it would be really, and it's an idea I've had for a long time, to try to get police services. It's the largest millage that's paid, I know, in Ypsilanti Township, almost $7 million a year for police services. And then on top of it, the new mental health and police millage, that it's really important to try to have assignments made by neighborhoods, and so that you have at least one police officer, a sheriff's deputy, who works for Sugarbrook all the time, or works for West Willow, or works in Augusta Township, so that people can start forming relationships. We do that with one community, officer, but we need to do that with all of the officers. And I would love to see us look at the way we could restructure. I know it's a big task, but I do think that we're ready for it, and people are ready for it in the neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. You all seem to be peeking over my shoulder at my list of questions, but I'll forge on ahead. Police violence, particularly against persons of color and protesters, has become a regular feature of the daily news. Washtenaw County has not escaped notice in this regard. Are there police reform efforts that the board should consider in order to ensure that all residents have confidence in the even-handedness and integrity of law enforcement in the county? And first this time is Justin Hodge.
All right, so as I mentioned in a previous question, I chair the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office Community Advisory Board for Law Enforcement, which is essentially the office's police oversight board. So I can tell you a little bit about what we're already doing and what's going to happen with the situation that happened in Apple Ridge, and what I would like to see us doing going forward. So I put it out on the internet through social media, and it's on the Sheriff's Office's website. My board created a community public comment forum so people can share their thoughts and their feelings about the incident, what they would like to see happen. We need to be doing more of that. You probably saw a number of news articles about that, and one of the things that I heard from reporters is that they thought it was an unusual move from an oversight board. I said it shouldn't be an unusual move, it should just be the thing that happens. So more of that kind of work. We're going to review all of those questions, or all the comments that we received, and have a conversation with the sheriff about it, about what changes we can make in the office, and take a look at different policies that we can recommend changes to. We're also going to be taking a look at expanding and reformatting what cable looks like, the board that I chair, to increase representation across the county for individuals. Because we know that the Sheriff's Office polices particular areas throughout the county, and I want to make sure that we have, and this is a suggestion I would say broadly too, that we have good representation from the areas, from the jurisdictions that the Sheriff's Office polices. So that's one of the steps. We need better representation from different communities that are on the board. We're going to have to take a look at use of force policies to make sure that they're in line with, that they work effectively in our community. We're going to be taking another look at body cam policies. Many of these policies for some police forces are online, such as with the Sheriff's Office. but helping the community be more informed about what these policies are and providing people clear and effective methods for engaging with people. Not every police department has a citizen oversight board, but maybe all of them should. I think all of them should, and they should be visible. And we're working to be more visible here in Washtenaw County so people know where we're at and know how to share their thoughts about policing in our county.
Thank you. And Denise Kirchhoff.
Yes, I think one of the things we need to really look at is our community oversight boards. I think we need to strengthen our community-based oversight board. And these boards absolutely need some teeth. And they need to be people in the community. They don't need to be the same voices all the time. A lack of response and relationships with community members. I mean, we don't need the police policing the community 24/7, just sort of looking to see if anybody's done anything wrong. I mean, I've been there and I've heard the stories from people talking about over-policing and how actually reaching out to the police, waiting, when something was done wrong, actually waiting for the response. And there's a fear. I reached out to the police about something that happened to my son in my neighborhood exactly 365 days ago, a couple of days ago, still waiting for a response. So to talk about this community oversight board, I think it's a great thing, but we need to take a look at other boards that actually have teeth in them. And these boards need to be made up of people in our community with some serious power, not just a little place where you can go and post, I want to talk to the police about this. I want to talk to the police about that. I mean, there needs to be communication from the sheriff's department to the people they serve. And there needs to be a serious response. And I mean, this board needs to just not be, same people, same things, same time. It needs to be people in the community, and they need to understand how the police department works and what their rights are. And it's like review forever policies with policing in our community. I mean, there needs to be a constant review of that.
Thank you. And next, Karen Lovejoy Roe.
Yes, one of the things in my background is bringing folks together, both labor and management groups, employees and work and employers. And I think that those kind of skills to bring together individuals in the community representing all parts of the community that is serviced by the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department, because that's what we have oversight on the county commissioner, on the county commission board, to actually work together to come up with how can we build those. And they should be made up of both COAM officers and the POAM, both the deputies and their lieutenants and the sergeants involved in that, together with representatives from all communities. I really feel if we can employ the workplace democracy kind of elements to our workforce in the Sheriff's Department, together with the employer, who actually is the residents who are paying the taxes, along with the management team that we pay to direct them, I think that we can make some inroads. And again, I think it's really important. The way that people bid their shifts, I know is really sacred to both the deputies and the command staff. But I think it's really important to try to look at how we can have, instead of having 45, 47 deputies that are patrolling and they're all moving around all the time, but how could we have those assigned? So there's at least one deputy assigned to the Holmes Road neighborhood, one deputy assigned to West Willow, one deputy to Sugar Brook, and on, one to Mill Point, so that you have that relationship, not just one with one neighborhood watch or community officer, but you have that throughout. Because I do believe that if the people can understand the issues, and maybe even the issue in Apple Ridge could have been avoided if people would have had a real relationship with the individuals that were involved, versus just being caught on the site. They may have never even been assigned. They may have been working weekends. I don't know the histories of there, but I do know that relationships matter, and it matters most importantly in areas of policing, that we have relationships and we understand who it is that's working for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael White.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to have to throw on a couple of different hats here. One for my background in psychology, with my bachelor's in administration, with my organizational leadership, specifically with my master's, as to looking at particular incidences. So if we speak about the Apple Ridge incident that happened, the first thing that happened that morning, early that morning, was I was getting calls right away to ask me, what was going on? Did you hear about what happened? And immediately I reached out, because I'm part of this community, I reached out to Derek, and Derek is a part of the sheriff's department, community engagement. And he told me he would get right back with me, and also to our trustees to let them know, especially the ones that are in that area, to let them know what was going on. So when people are identifying you as somebody to come to because of being in the community, to see what it is that can happen, if you can facilitate things, that's important. As far as policing is concerned, we have to look at, boards are fantastic and we need them, but we need to hear from the people in the streets. As I was marching in multiple marches with the individuals in the street, you had to hear what they were saying. We are over-policed, but we have police officers that are in communities where people don't know them unless they're being arrested, unless they're being stopped, unless they're being engaged. But that community engagement is what is missing. That engagement that you get to know the individual that is in your community policing you. We need to have individuals that are from the community. You get more respect from individuals that know the individuals that they're policing as opposed to a stranger. West Willow had this type of engagement where we wanted to meet the police officers last year. And we asked all the police officers to come down, and I sat with Sergeant Campbell for quite some time. And we had one officer that actually came, and that was Sergeant Campbell. Police officers are my best friends. A lot of them are in law enforcement. But again, we need to make sure that we are policing the community with familiar faces so that that respect level can continue.
Thank you. And the next question is, commissioners are elected from separate districts, but also are responsible for decisions that affect the entire county. In what ways do the priorities of your constituents differ from countywide priorities? And when priorities conflict, what would be your approach to deciding how to vote? And first this time is Denise Kirchhoff.
As a commissioner, I would truly represent this district. And with our district being one of the most, when I look, because I did actually go back and look over the years what's been done in different districts, our district for the last 8.5 years has truly actually been underserved. We have some of the lowest bandwidth for internet in our district. Half of our kids, when I looked at the grades of the kids in school, half of the kids in our schools that live between, actually where I live, going all the way out to Augusta, when you look at when they went online to mostly online access for their courses, their grades dropped exponentially. So I completely understand that other districts need help. But right now, I think if I were to say something about our district, we're just sort of limping along. And for a while, we are going to have to be one of the important topics, because we have one of the largest schools in the district, elementary, grade school, and high school in our district. And we, like I said, we have some of the lowest internet access. And for a while, for whatever reason, we've been shortchanged. It hasn't been equitable. And we need to make it equitable for the county, but we all have to start at the same level of an even playing field. And right now, this part of the district is far from that, because we have issues with housing, we have issues with busing right now with our children's, and we definitely need to start focusing on this district, because in order to help a healthy Washtenaw, we have to make the Eastern District of Washtenaw County healthy.
Thank you. And now Karen Lovejoy Roe.
I just think that whoever gets elected from this district has to join forces with Commissioner Ricky Jefferson. A lot of commissioners have adopted and said that they believe in equity, but it has to be a time to put, for an old phrase, your money where your mouth is. We have an opportunity to build one of the most fabulous YMCA centers. Land has been donated. There's a public or a private partnership to raise money, but YMCA won't come without a contribution from Washtenaw County. $35 million were dedicated to do this back in 2006, and here we are in 2020, and it still hasn't happened. There's a lot of reasons why it fell apart in the city of Ypsilanti, but that doesn't stop needs. The YMCA Center will provide so many opportunities for our youth, after school programming. They'll do health. One of their big focuses is on long-term, high blood pressure, heart issues, all those kinds of things that we need to have success with in order to turn things around here. It'll provide a place for us to get healthy, just like all the residents who live in the city of Ann Arbor have their great facility. So I think that that's something that we need to reach across with our Ann Arbor partners and say it's only fair. And on top of it, all of our residents for long time, I've lived here my entire life. I've been involved in politics for over 30 years. We have played a Parks and Rec millage for all those years. So our time is now. It's time for us to get that YMCA built. And one of the things I want to do is work really hard across the board with the Ann Arbor Democrats and those in the western side of the county to say, hey, let's deliver. Let's deliver for all the residents that live on the eastern side of Washington County, including District 5.
Thank you. Michael White?
Thank you. So on this side, as a county commissioner, again, working with, the other commissioners and also those that are in leadership, here in the township and of course in Augusta Township. We need to address the 3 rooms. And I say the 3 rooms. The first room is the classroom. We need to make sure that we have educational opportunities for all across the board. We know where our test scores are at. We know where Ypsilanti schools are landing, and we need to do better. It's not our teachers, it's the funding. We need to make sure that everyone has equitable means in education. It is just, we need to do better. The second room is that boardroom. We need to give individuals access to wealth. We need to give those opportunities for people to be able to open up their own businesses and get the education to be able to do that so they can afford their homes, so they can afford health care for their loved ones, so they can afford transportation, and they can do it on their own. So we need to make sure we make that accessible. And the third thing is the courtroom. We need to make sure that this room has reform. We need to make sure that people have access to good, fair representation. We need to make sure individuals have good access to, at least being able to get bailed out, and that we have fair laws that are going on. We need to look at all of these things because our recidivism rate is extremely high in Washtenaw County. So when we look at the classroom, the boardroom, and the courtroom, let's address those issues that affect most of the people in this community, most of the people even in the county, but we're speaking about Ypsilanti Township and Augusta Township. Let's address those issues, and then we will probably have a better place to, again, live, work, learn, pray, and play. We need to make equality in Ypsilanti Township and Augusta Township.
Thank you, Michael. And Justin Hodge.
Yeah, so it's an excellent question. Equity and promoting equity and social justice across the county is what's going to guide my decision making. So just to throw out another statistic, Washtenaw County is one of the most economically segregated regions in the entire country. We've got a lot of concentrated poverty in eastern Washtenaw County and in western Washtenaw County. And we've talked a lot about the different challenges facing facing the county, and those challenges of poverty and economic inequality look similar in some ways between both places. We talked about in Augusta Township, there are challenges with broadband internet. That's a similar problem in western Washtenaw County. We talked about inequities in education and wealth and access to jobs and healthcare. That's why a lot of my ideas revolve around getting people services, delivering those services to them. If we have a robust, for example, mental health and healthcare system where we can provide home-based services, well, that would be county-wide. We could get those resources to people across the county. But looking at the challenges facing eastern Washtenaw County, I would be a fierce advocate to make sure that we address the issues that are specific to us in eastern Washtenaw County. I mean, looking at the COVID-19 numbers, 48197, 48198, and I live in 48198. Almost half of the cases in our county. There are serious issues with social determinants of health that we need to address in our part of the county that have long gone underserved. So some of the work that I've been doing, I've worked with the New West Willow Neighborhood Association throughout the pandemic, delivering household supplies and cleaning supplies weekly throughout the pandemic. We got those to hundreds of families. That kind of service, we might need to continue some of those for the foreseeable future. Food, we've been working to get food partner, because we have a food insecurity issue in this part of the county, as with western Washtenaw County, where there's more areas of poverty. Work with farmers to families to get hundreds of pounds of produce to families in those areas. So we may need to continue those kinds of issues those kinds of supports and services. But I think the equity issues look similar across the county, but where they do look different in my part of the county, I will be a fierce advocate to make sure that people of Ypsi Township and Augusta Township are served well.
Thank you. And it's now time for closing statements. We will begin with Justin Hodge.
All right. Well, our campaign is about making our county a place where your race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status don't determine your destiny. A place where everyone has the opportunity to thrive and be successful. Imagine if that were our reality, how different things could be. And if you support that vision, then I'm asking for you to vote for me and then work with me to make real change. I'm not a career politician. I'm a social worker and an educator that works to promote social justice and equity. As your county commissioner, you can rest assured that I will bring my high ethical standards to the office and will serve with integrity. You don't need to worry about looking into me and finding any scandals now or in the future. More than ever, that's the kind of leadership I truly believe that we need. And leaders recognize other leaders. I've earned the support that I have because our community leaders see me working all year round, not just during an election cycle, and they want to work with me because of that. I'm proud to be the only candidate with support from any of the county commissioners, and I have 6 of them supporting me, including the chair. That's important because whoever wins this election will have to work with them to make any kind of policy change. I'm also the only candidate with support from township trustees from both of the townships in the district. I have a clear vision and specific policy proposals to address the challenges we're facing. I'm ready to get to work. Our elected leaders are ready to work with me, and I'm asking for your votes so we can create positive change together. I want to thank the League again for hosting this forum and all of you for your time. You can learn more about our campaign and how to get involved at votejustinhodge.com. I hope I can count on your support.
Thank you. And Denise Kirchhoff for your closing statement.
Hello, everyone. I'd just like to say to the League of Women Voters, thank you very much. You know, I got into this race because I live in this community and I love this community. And I saw that in our leadership, they were inaccessible and they were very hard to talk to. And people were calling everybody for services. I mean, I believe that Washtenaw County, we need a healthy Washtenaw County. That includes environmental, medical, social, and economical. You know, my daughter and I started a shut-in food pantry for seniors. We started it when she was 14 years old. She is now just about to turn 17 years old. We have spent over 2,000 hours delivering food to shut-in seniors because there's such an inequality, and it was something she saw over 4 years ago. No, I am not a professional candidate. I am not a professional politician. And I don't think leaders sort of don't like it when you're not on the same page as them. And I think we're looking at an age of change. Things have to change. We have to start listening to the people in our community, and we have to start doing what they want. And we have to start being accessible to them, just not in those private rooms where everyone is. So voting for me would be voting for a healthier Washtenaw County. Go to votedeniseskirchhoff.org and see how you can help. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Yeah. Karen Lovejoy Roe.
I got into the race because I thought I had something to deliver and to provide. Continue in service. I was raised to be of service to others, and that's something that I want to continue to do. And I think that I have the best opportunity to make sure that the residents in District 5 are served well. I have the most experience in terms of negotiating contracts, in budgeting, financing, setting budgets, delivering budgets, working with the labor management groups, and building concessions across many different bodies, both private and public, for many, many years. I'm ready, willing to put those together to work for the community. Number one to me is jobs. It's all about jobs. As many of you have said here, and I agree with you, is if you have good paying jobs, then a lot of the issues that we're facing in Eastern Washtenaw County and District 5 go away. And part of that needs to be a focus, and bringing is Pittsfield Township and the city of Ann Arbor need to give us a chance to have those businesses located here. We can do that through tax breaks, different things that we've done in the past that we know that work. So I think that that's really important. And then the YMCA, there's nothing that's going to deliver quickly, faster, with low cost to the county residents, an organization that's going to provide health services, an after-school program, education, and recreation at no cost for operations. The YMCA will do it. They just want a contribution to help build it. So thank you very much.
And finally, Michael White.
All right, thank you so much. Again, one thing I want to say is that Ypsilanti Township and Augusta Township, I'm extremely passionate about Ypsilanti Township because I've been here for a while. I'm not new to this. I've been around and I've helped to build different things within the community as far as different programs and helping to gain people with jobs. So the first thing that you have to understand is that when you are supported by a community of which you will serve in, that's important. When you have the elected officials that are behind you on the Ypsilanti Township Community Board, the Ypsilanti Township Board, and when you have individuals that are from, again, Ypsilanti, the city, that you'll be working with, Ricky Jefferson is over there, and you'll be working with those individuals, and you've been endorsed by some of those council members, that's also important. And it has to be reflective of what's going on in the community. When you have your educators, when you have your community leaders, when you have your ministers, all from the township in which you will serve, that's saying a lot because they trust you. So bringing my experience of leading different organizations, bringing my experience of the support that I had for the community, bringing my experience of having been in negotiations because I was the vice president of the union in which I served in, being able to work with working people and being able to work with underserved communities is important. So I look forward to serving you and I ask for your vote August 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to all of you for participating in this very valuable session. I will now turn things over to Teresa Reed for some closing comments.
Smile and look happy.
The League thanks the candidates for participating in tonight's forum and to those who contributed questions. All our candidate forums will be available for streaming on your computer or smartphone. Go to our website, lwvannarbor.org, and look for the link to the programs. In addition, the forums can be viewed on CTN. Please urge your friends and fellow residents to watch these forums too. For additional nonpartisan information on candidates and ballot issues, go to vote411.org. The League's voter resource guide covering local, state, and federal candidates and current proposals that will appear on your ballot. With the passage of Proposal 3 in 2018, all Michigan voters are now eligible to cast an absentee ballot. In addition, while voters are encouraged to register ahead of time, Michigan law now provides for same-day registration and voting. So just remember, no matter how you do it, make sure you vote in the August 4th primary election. Thank you very much.